Hi, my name is Jessie Turner, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about my project idea for the Postdoc Seed Award. I have a question for you. The last time you went out to the water, what color was it? Now, most of us think about the color of the ocean as being blue, and it often is, but it can be many shades. Maybe you've noticed that it's sometimes green or blue-green or even yellow. The differences in those colors are because of a lot of things. One of those things is phytoplankton, microscopic plants that make up the base of the entire ocean food chain. They produce half of the oxygen that we breathe. Every second breath you take is from phytoplankton. So that's why we look at the color of water.
One way we can see what color the ocean is from above is from satellites. This is the field of aquatic remote sensing. One big problem we have in aquatic remote sensing is that we need to ground truth the measurements in order to see how accurate they are. To do that, the traditional instruments we usually use are either expensive, hard to make, or both. So what do I propose to do? I'm proposing to build do-it-yourself ocean color instruments. Recently, there have been some new technologies developed that are simpler to build. They're designed with computer boards about as big as your iPhone and sensors as big as your fingertip. Unlike the traditional instruments, these things are low enough in cost that they're accessible for students or citizen scientists to work with. So, what am I going to build? First, a radiometer. A radiometer measures the color and amount of light coming out of the sea surface. It's similar to what a satellite measures. To design my radiometer, I'm going to use an Arduino board. It's a small microcontroller and a bunch of other easy-to-purchase, low-cost equipment to build a small sensor with a lens, kind of like a camera. In my lab here at UConn, I do have access to the traditional higher-cost instruments that are used to measure ocean color. So I have the ability to compare my new do-it-yourself sensor to the existing technology. For the best test of whether this stuff works, I want to do all my comparisons under a wide range of environmental conditions. Different weather, sun, clouds, times of day, and seasons. Now, one more thing I plan to build for this project is something that's used for citizen science. It's not quite as technical. It's called a Farrell-Yule color scale. Traditionally, it has a bunch of little colored vials full of chemical solutions that you can use to match the apparent hue of the water to what you see with your human eye. It's been used for decades. It's a very old and well-used tool, but for citizen scientists, it might be hard to access the chemicals if you're trying to make a lot of them. Luckily, there's a new version that you can build yourself. It's flat, using colored lighting filters, and I propose to build one of those as well as part of this project.
So why should you care? Why do we care about measuring the color of the water? Well, one thing that I mentioned before is phytoplankton, the base of the entire marine food chain. Zooplankton, microscopic animals, eat those microscopic plants. The fish eat the zooplankton, and it goes all the way up to seals, whales, and fishermen that provide food for us humans. Another reason we care about the color of the water is that after things like storms or hurricanes, big rain events, rivers can dump all kinds of sediments into the coastal ocean, and one way we can track that is using satellites to look at the color of the water. All of these things can be improved with better ground truth measurements. Maybe the best part of this project that I haven't mentioned yet is that it's actually a way to improve international collaboration and be more inclusive of more types of researchers. One barrier to being more inclusive in this field is that the instruments are just so expensive. And so if something were available at low cost, it would mean a lot to people in other countries with fewer resources or at institutions with fewer resources. So that's one benefit of this project. It's important to note that these technologies already exist. What exists is what I think of as the first build. So someone in another country or another place in the world built the first prototype of these low-cost instruments, wrote a paper about it, and then now it exists. But what I propose to do is to test that in a new environment and make sure that it works and give another example of how those things can be used.
Now, one of my personal favorite parts I'm going to develop some educational materials to show students how they can build these sensors. In the time frame of this project, those materials are going to get uploaded to an open access lesson plan repository. It's an established program where educators go through and assess everything so you get feedback. The long-term goal is to develop that into an actual sensors course. That way students can learn to build these sensors and those skills can be applied to their future jobs.
So to sum it up, the problem is that we need more ground truth measurements to match with satellite observations, but the instruments we use to do that are extremely expensive. My solution? To build a prototype do-it-yourself radiometer and color scale and test them at UConn, and then build some educational materials that can eventually be turned into a sensors course. Thank you.